My second one Friday.
Did you?
Better, and I'm feeling okay now.
Moving down, I don't see, he might be called out on something. Is that clock correct?
Usually not.
Huh?
Usually not, but let me see.
Well, I do
You
have
got 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. You got,
Claims that we
yes,
really need to do that first.
do it first?
Yeah, because, so they can be
Got it.
getting it put together.
Okay.
It's supposed to be first on the agenda.
It will be. Working? Whoa, it's working. Good morning. With that, we're good? I could sing for you, but that wouldn't be good either. Good morning and welcome for the first Monday meeting of our county commissioners in April. We're going to begin with the pledge led by our EMS director, Donnie Warren, a veteran of the United States Air Force, for the pledge, and then I'll have a short prayer and we'll carry our business.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. You pray with me. Dear God, we are thankful for the comfort of your presence with us. We are thankful for the rolled stone and the empty tomb. We are grateful for the newness of the season, for our pastures filling with calves and lambs, and our woods filling with buds and wildflowers and green, our fields and gardens with newly planted seed and the promise of bounty. We are grateful for the accomplishments of so many that are leading us to a vision of hope and light, a vision of the coming freedom from our prison of a year living with the curse of COVID. But it's coming, but never soon enough for those we have lost and for those still in harm's way. We are grateful for those who protect us and shield us and nurture us, and we're ever grateful for the comfort of your goodness and your loving guidance. Amen. Welcome. Good to see you all. We have a busy session, but I don't think we'll miss lunch. I'd like to begin with the claims that are with us. They need to be getting those over to the ladies in the auditor's office. And I didn't, I placed them someplace probably at the end of my agenda. Here they are. Okay, do you all have a copy of the claims? Do you have any questions on those claims? Are there any holds, Dan? There are no holds. I'll entertain a motion to accept the claims as provided.
Brian Kyer makes the motion to accept the payroll Perth County portion, FICA County portion for March 5th, March 19th, and April 1st. In addition to that, the accounts payable claims of $2,857,664.06.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor of the motion? Any discussion further? All All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed 3-0. Should we sign that before we hand it to you? Okay.
We'll just collect all those that need signatures.
Do you need this now to go? Okay, got it. All right, next item on the business, or on the agenda, is an item from the sheriff's office, and I haven't seen the sheriff quite yet. There must have been an emergency come up, so we'll wait and see. That was the CHIRP grant from the sheriff's department. Is there anybody from the sheriff's department for that? Okay, we'll see Sheriff Myers here when he returns. Let me make a note. Yeah, that was, we had another thing. We have a proclamation, too. That was the first item. This was coming from the from our telecommunications department. Were you going to take care of that, Scotty and Michelle? That'd be great. Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a proclamation we tender generally every year. I think we maybe missed it last year because of COVID and all the crisis that went with that. But every year there's National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. It occurs from April 11th to 17th, and this is a proclamation from the state of Indiana, from the Indiana 911 Board that recognizes that. If we could get you to recognize that and sign the proclamation, we'd appreciate it.
Michelle, I'm sorry, Melissa, would you want to read that, or Scotty, you want to read that so everybody knows what you folks do? It's not tremendously long, but I think that the folks would like to hear what we're proclaiming.
It states in the beginning, County of Morgan, State of Indiana, proclamation, to all whom these presents may come, greetings. Whereas the role of the professional public safety telecommunicator is vital to the protection of human life and property and to preservation of law and order as guaranteed by our U.S. Constitution. And whereas the professional public safety telecommunicator is the pivotal link between citizens and those who provide services when accidents or emergency circumstances occur, which require the assistance of firefighters, police officers, and emergency medical services. And whereas the public safety telecommunicator is vital in the safety of our first responders. And whereas the County of Morgan in the state of Indiana is committed to using the newest technology and innovations to serve our citizens. And finally, whereas the County of Morgan in the state of Indiana is fortunate to be blessed with these professionals in our public safety family. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of Morgan County in the state of Indiana, do hereby proclaim the week of April 11th through 17th, 2021 as Public Safety Telecommunicator Week in the County of Morgan in the state of Indiana, and invite all citizens to duly note this occasion, and then the signature lines. So, like Scott said, I think we've done this every year in the past, except for last year. Everything was chaos, so it didn't get done. But I'm sure you've all seen these before. It's pretty much a rote.
Well, thank you, Melissa, and we need to act on this by a motion to accept the proclamation.
Go ahead and make a motion. We accept the proclamation for the telecommunicators for this week.
It's actually next week, I think, isn't it?
It begins Sunday, yes, sir.
Starts next Sunday.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, I just was making sure we had it correct in the minutes.
Before I second this, I'd just like to thank whoever was working yesterday, late in the afternoon. The Martinsville Fire Department had approximately 8 or 9 runs within 2 hours, not to mention Paragon, Gregg, Brooklyn. We emptied all the barns yesterday, and it just got totally chaotic, and the dispatchers, I thought, did an excellent job of trying to, I couldn't do it. I'm a visual learner, and to listen to 100 people try to tell you, what truck to bring, what station they're going back to, where they're at, what they got going, wrecks, and multiple, they just did an excellent job. So I wanted to go out on a limb. If you guys ever get an opportunity to listen to some of our traffic, it can become a circus real quick. And it's the dispatchers that have to coordinate They're kind of like the ringmaster, and they just did an excellent job yesterday. So I proudly second this motion, and I personally thank them since I was on numerous runs, and that they help keep us out in the field safe. So thank you, and I second this.
Thank you, Commissioner Collier, and I appreciate that second, and I appreciate the service that, the good service that we get. And I'm proud to make that proclamation. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and thank you for your service, and thank you for the recognition that is never sometimes understood or appreciated as much as it's there. Because if you don't get the job done, it doesn't get done.
Well, thank you. We greatly appreciate it, and thanks for your kind words. I was watching it, things were busy. It was grass fire Sunday, and, yeah.
Grass fires can lead to more,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of property damage too.
More wooded area, and everything's dry, and it gets down in some of those ravines, I mean.
Right.
Be in there for hours working on that stuff.
Yes, we appreciate all your abilities and your dedication to your work. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're all invited up next week. There's usually food for telecommunicators.
Wait a minute, say that again, Lynn.
Candy and food.
You're all invited up next week. There's usually food for Telecommunicators Week,
Well,
so
that
come and
is a-
visit.
I'm sure Mr. Collier will be there,
Yes.
and I might show up. Thank you.
I'll bring Keith and we'll do a story.
Okay, next item, that, I was ahead of myself there, actually. That was our first item. And the next item is the sheriff, and I didn't see him come in yet, or did he? Oh, Sheriff, sorry, you snuck in. Here, good to see you, sir.
Come before, good morning to everybody, by
Morning.
the way.
Morning.
We're talking about a CHIRP grant, and this is our yearly CHIRP grant that we apply for through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. This includes our traffic safety enforcement grant, it was $40,000 for Click It or Live It, $20,000 for the DUI task force, and then $6,000 goes for the administrative time. These grants are for the Morgan County Traffic Partnership, which includes us, the Martinsville Police Department, and Mooresville Police Department, and we administer that through the Sheriff's Office. The Click It or Live It grant will also include the blitz period for focusing on the bus stop arm enforcement violation that we've done the past couple of years, so that would include that also. So I just asked for your permission to apply for this grant.
So moved.
Second.
Before we, I will certainly call for the vote in just a moment. I had one simple question, and not really complicated, and I was probably should, this partnership, the Morgan County Traffic Safety Partnership, and it's at the three agencies, the three largest. What about the smaller agencies like Perrigan and Brooklyn and Morgantown and other police departments? Do they get to participate in any of this?
If they wanted to, they could. They've just never had the initiative to include,
Okay.
be included, yes.
I was curious as to why, partnerships to me ought to be the whole shebang, but
If they want to be included and to apply for it and to work with us, yeah, but we've just never,
Okay.
we've just never done them.
well, I'm sure if they, I'd like for them to do that, but I don't know how we get it done, so thank you.
We can talk to them and reach out. It's just a lot of times, this is overtime, so this is off-duty
Right.
hours. A lot of these officers are working, and they're smaller agencies a lot of times. Still want to do that on their
Okay.
off-duty hours to work that, and some of those are part-time positions like Perrigan and Monrovia and Mooresville and stuff are part-time positions in Morgantown that, even though they have the full-time, they have some part-time also that they don't want to do that, but
Well,
they're
anytime
more
you-
than welcome.
Anytime you've got a partnership, you've got a thing going, I think, so appreciate what you're doing and appreciate the opportunity that you've going to
Yeah,
create
we'd be
with the
glad to
grant.
have them. Bring them on.
Thank
We've got
you.
money available, so if they want to,
That's always a good carrot,
yeah. Well, that's.
Thank you,
pretty-
Sheriff.
Pretty appropriate here at Easter. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 More also for your sidekick. I was reading the April numbers for the jail. So we're not housing anybody from the state? Would it be a big deal to start putting a line item for a nerdy accountant to see how many we're housing from the state? And then, are they still, I mean, our numbers are still looking, I will say, good.
Right, yeah.
So we would have a little elbow room to possibly bring in more. Is the state still crowded, or is it looking better for everyone? Because there, for the longest time, everybody was overhoused and wanting to borrow our facility.
So we are in good shape as far as our population. We're 440 beds and we have 221
Correct.
offenders. So the DOC, a couple years ago back in 2015, when they redone the felony laws, so basically they said bad people need to be put in prison and drug addicts need to be put in jails and they can be handled at the local level better than what the DOC can handle them, and it was taking up bed space, and the
Right.
DOC was looking about building facilities. At that time, before that changed, the DOC would contract with the counties and say, you know, how many of our offenders do you want to keep at your county? You know, 10, 15, whatever, and they paid a per diem for that. So in 2015, that all changed when they changed the F6s as a way to divert some costs back to the counties. However, they didn't have enough money to pay the per diems anymore for all the F6s that were actually coming down to the county level. So the state kind of changed strategies because they didn't fund any more money than what was already funded, but they changed the strategy. So we don't bill per inmate any longer on the F6s. That's just a dollar amount through a formula the state has come up with for each county, and we get money from that, just a check every year, which ours is $675,000 per year, which was more than what we was doing when we was housing per se and billing per diem. I think it was about 25 to 30,000 more on average. So the DOC, with that keeping in mind, they don't contract counties any longer to hold folks, and that's that number you see there. So they basically, after an inmate has been sentenced to the Department of Corrections outside of an F6, then they have 5 days to pick that person up. After that 5 days, then we can start billing a per diem per day on top of the $675,000 that we get. But there's not really, hey, we've got 50 beds available, send us a bunch of your inmates. They don't do that strategy any longer because they freed up so much space within their own facilities by diverting the F6s back down.
Okay.
Very similar to what they done with misdemeanors
Right.
back in the 90s. And we still get funds for that. It's not dramatic, I think 45 to 47,000 a year. But it was because misdemeanors used to be able to go to prison if the judge elected so, and then in the 90s, they was like, oh, we're getting overcrowded, gonna have to build, so we'll just throw some money back to the counties and you keep them.
Okay. Thank you for bringing me up to speed on that. I was just looking for
Absolutely.
maybe another funding source if our numbers would stay in check, that,
Yep.
but,
Now, you could always house for other overcrowded facilities, county facilities, but that poses a whole lot of other issues. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't get to pick and choose on who you want to bring, and they're not going to bring you their best people for you to house. And
never do that to us, would they?
And I can say with David and his group back there, and knock on wood, but our COVID regime for this year, we've been so blessed and done such a good job. And when you start bringing people in from other counties that don't do that good a job, you're bringing in trouble, and you're bringing in trouble inmates, and you're bringing in sickness, and you're bringing in, oh, we can't come and get them right now, even though they need to go back. So you have a lot more headaches, and a lot more problems that we
I don't blame you there.
Yeah, exactly.
I just knew
I'll say
we'd
the
worked
state of
with-
Indiana, back, I think, around 2008 or 9, took in a bunch of inmates from the west into the Department of Corrections, and they had a multi-million-dollar fire and riot, and because of just operational changes that those folks were used to in one state, bring them in here, and visitation away from families, that type of thing always poses problems, unless they're immediately adjacent to us.
Right. Thank you.
We do help other counties out of emergencies. If they have something that they step up and say, hey, we need help out, we'll definitely help them out. But just to take bed and breakfast, we try not to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. And Commissioner Collier, I thank you for your question. It's very, and the answers from Major and the Sheriff really inform us all about what we're doing. And I appreciate your input and
Thank
their
you.
input. Next item on our agenda is EMA grant, a significant grant. Looks like over $500,000. Mr. Toomey, from our EMA director, please.
So this grant, we're doing a collaborative grant and working with Brent Worth, Josh, and Joel. This is out of my area expertise with the technicality of it, so I can have Josh explain what it is we're doing. We're linking this to some other projects that we've had money from in the past, like the camera systems that we're putting on the outside of the courthouse and several other buildings.
At budget time, one of the things we talked about was wanting to do a fiber link from our dispatch center to our jail as well as to our EMS building and coroner's office. That was something that we ended up not funding this year, as we knew we were going to be doing some bonding and we didn't know where that would fall. But with this grant, we're going to try and go ahead and do that project. So we're working right now to get all the quotes in place so that we can be competitive when we apply.
The other part of the grant Brent Worth is working on is body cams for all county officers, license plates, readers, and some other electronic equipment. Everything has to be based now either on cybersecurity or terrorism. So our big push right here is cybersecurity on part of it and terrorism aspect on the other. So
These are 100% grants, not 75-25, right?
100%. Now, they can come back and say, we're not going to fund this, this, and this, so we're going to give you this amount of money, but they'll tell you what they're not going to fund. So,
Any other questions about this significant grant and what it's going to accomplish? I'll entertain a motion.
For Morgan County EMA with their collaborative grant in the amount of $275,312.50.
What did you read that number at?
there's two portions to it, Kenny. It all totals up to $575,312.50.
Yep.
Got, all right. I've got a 575,000.
Yeah, $575,312.50.
We have a motion to proceed with the grant application.
Brian Kyer seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mark. And we look forward to the improvements. Next item on our agenda is a Morgan County Health Department, Jean LaFerry. Your turn, my dear. Dears. Thank you, Jeannie.
I think you skipped one, though.
I'm sorry?
Just before me, the substance abuse grant.
Oh, yeah, I think it did. Pardon me. I've got my finger in the wrong spot here, so.
Okay.
You go
But
ahead.
I'll go ahead anyway.
Yeah.
Okay,
You take care of the health department grant. I'm sorry, got it.
We had contracted back in November with a company called Fox Hire. That grant ended on March 31st, and I thought we had to get a new contract with them, but in talking with them this past week, they said that we could do a month by month, just, without a contract. And so our cases have declined. This was, we had hired contact tracers. We had 2 going in. One has taken another job, so we are down to just 1, but that gal is able to handle the cases that we currently have. That kind of fluctuates. We never know. Easter just, passed and everyone was together, so we're hoping that things stay still down. But we would like to go ahead and keep them on month by month just to kind of see at least a couple months to see how things go. Our nurses are both busy at the COVID clinic every day, and so therefore they are not able to get any of this contact tracing completed themselves. So this is just kind of an FYI, I guess. Like I said, I thought we would have to bring another contract to you, but the Fox Hire said no, that we could just do a month by month without any type of contract. So
You don't need a vote from, or approval for
no,
anything
I
on the
won't
grant
need
here.
you all to sign went ahead and stayed on the agenda just so I could kind of give you an FYI what's going on
Okay.
with it. We have, the county council did grant us $50,000 for this purpose, and we've spent about half of that now. So, and hopefully we won't wind up spending all of it. I'm hoping, contingent on cases staying down. So
Okay.
our nurses do monitor the work that these gals are doing. So, it's not just being spent and we're not on top of what's going on, so that's all I have to tell you, I think, so.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you,
Thank
Jeannie, I appreciate that. We'll get a list of the substance abuse grants here in a bit. The next item, an important item, is a discussion on the mandate from the governor's office, or the notification from the governor's office concerning masks. I think we need to address that concern and make some decisions. And we have, first of all, I'd like to share with you a letter from our Board of Health officer, Paul Broderick, to share with the organization and everybody. I think it would be appropriate to read the letter. This is to Morgan County residents and, of course, commissioners. On March the 23rd, Governor Holcomb announced the statewide mask mandate will be downgraded to a mask advisory on April 6th. That's tomorrow. The advisory empowers businesses and local government entities open to the public to impose a more stringent mask-wearing policies. Many businesses may determine that it is in the best interest to continue with the mask mandate. These policies deserve the respect of patrons and employees. In light of the current national, state, and local COVID trends, I stand in support of the governor's advisory and will not impose a countywide mask mandate. It is still imperative that we all maintain good health hygiene, get tested if experiencing a respiratory illness or other possible signs of COVID-19, and isolate when appropriate. Diligence in this respect will allow Hoosiers and Morgan County residents to continue our strong path forward through this public health challenge. All Hoosiers 16 of age and older are eligible for the vaccine as of March the 31st. Visit rshot.in.gov or call 211 for more information and schedule an appointment. Sincerely, Paul Broderick, Morgan County Health Officer, Dr. Paul Broderick. So we need to consider a revision of the ordinances that we passed on what we're going to do. Josh, I'm kind of put you on the spot here a little bit. You've kind of polled, knowing that our decision has to be concerning the public health of our buildings. What was the consequence of your questions to the people in this building or other buildings that you've heard?
Yeah, I reached out to a handful of department heads and elected officials around the county buildings and asked them that question: what's your comfort level of your employees? Most of the responses I got back indicated their employees were now at a point where they were comfortable doing away with masks. Some might wear them if they elected to, but most were comfortable not. There were a few offices that did say, yeah, we would like to see this extended for another month, but that was not the overall sentiment.
Okay. And the ordinance that was prepared, and the ordinance that would address this, Mr. Wisco, you provided, there it is. I couldn't see it. This ordinance, 2021, and then dash whatever this is going to be, basically says that the mandate is gone to an advisory, but there's a component that says we want to continue being on the safe side. Is that how you would define?
Yeah, I would say common sense is stressed throughout the document, that we're putting the responsibility on people to make wise decisions.
That's an accurate way to put it, correct?
I'll entertain questions. We haven't a motion on this yet, but, well, let's start with the ordinance itself that Jim has developed. Do we have any questions about that ordinance for us or Jim?
I don't. I appreciate him putting this together and appreciate Josh working with the department heads and also with other counties, communities, seeing how they're addressing this in the city of Martinsville as well. One of the things that I think that's going to greatly affect the employees and they're going to be wondering about is Section 3, the county employees and paid time off, other leave time provisions of this prior ordinance adopted by the Board of Morgan County Commissioners concerning the Corona-19 and the paid time off, PTO. Other leave time shall remain in effect at this time, just to put all their minds at rest there. Highly encouraging all the employees to be back at work, not telecommunicating, except unless unique circumstances warrant the exception to the standard policy, as long as that employee is working with that department head and making sure they're being blessed, but trying to keep the telecommunicating be limited in duration. That's the big things that I think the employees are really worried and concerned about, because I've had a lot of them ask me about the PTO, if it's going to go away as well, and I just wanted to make sure. And I'm comfortable with the way that it is and keeping it in place myself.
Yeah, and Kenny, I'll elaborate on that. In the past year, there were, I think, 4 executive orders and 2 ordinances that addressed this smattering of things. I think Jim meant for this to be broad enough because we covered some things such as comp time for EMS, knowing that they would be working more, as well as the COVID leave that we gave all employees. That sunset federally on the 31st, and so for now, we've got that in there if you guys choose to leave it. We heard some concerns about possible abuse of that time, and I think one of the things that, I guess you all should consider, we didn't give them 2 weeks more, so the people who have it and haven't used it yet, are they likely to still abuse it at this point or not? I can't answer that, but that was something that there was concern throughout that people felt like that may have been abused, but last year the commissioners gave a lot of leadway for good reason. And so that's, I think, a discussion point today is, do we leave it as is or do we modify it?
How much abuse, Josh? I really felt like for the people that did contact it and was affected by it, that it was a great thing for them. But I mean, how much abuse was there?
I can't answer that. It's mostly anecdotal, but that was something that was voiced throughout.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
All right.
Just a broad, if my mom and dad want to get what their son's passing today, how do they get access to this? How do they know where their county stands?
It's a great question. We can post it on Facebook. We can post it on our county website.
I think we need to, because the biggest part of this whole COVID mess has been the fear and the fear of the unknown. And, I've gotten a couple emails. I had more concerns which were addressed by Section 3, which Commissioner Hill already addressed. That was the majority. It was my duty and the employees of the county asking where we're going with that, and I understood that. And then I've had a couple emails from citizens just asking me to extend the mask mandate. And quite honestly, if you had asked David Skeggs out there, my common sense, he would probably get you all in tears, because a lot of times he would argue that since we work together every third day, or Dan Baston probably, my common sense isn't everybody else's common sense.
But right now, 54% of the people in this room are not wearing their mask properly. I'm a numbers guy. I solve things through numbers. I try to take the emotion out of it. So if you look at 54%, to sit there and say that this is over, take off your mask and just go back to the way it was, would not be common sense in my mind. With that said, having done some things that others would argue would not be common sense in their mind. I got on an airplane. I calculated that there was 131 people on that airplane flying back from where I was coming from. We did not have the center seat empty. And then I started trying to calculate if only 15% of us have had both shots, which I'm one of the 15%, you talk about a petri dish of COVID. Common sense would dictate that 131 of us did not have common sense. And that was just one of the 3 planes I got on, and all 3 planes last week were totally packed. My wife was on separate flights. All her flights were full. My point is that most people are over this. They are mentally exhausted, and they're about to do whatever they want to do. Therefore, I do not believe that the sheriff or Mr. Rogers wants to fill our jail up with people that are in violation of proper wearing of a mask. So I appeal to the citizens of Morgan County to love one another enough that they use safety common sense to wear a mask when needed, and to respect those who haven't had the opportunity. Quite honestly, back to my numbers, had the governor done this in approximately 48 days, and I calculated that by roughly now that everyone can get the shot, give them 2 weeks to get the shot, give them 30 days to sit with before they get the second shot. And I calculated that. I was thinking they could do this before March 31st. I was thinking it was around the 20th. So I'm off a little bit because I got misinformation on the age group. But now everybody can get the shot. So eventually the quote-unquote herd mentality is going to be self-fulfilled. So with that, I want to address the citizens that took the time to email or call me on the mask. I'm comfortable with what is written here. I'm comfortable asking and appealing to people to use common sense to wear a mask in closed situations. But if you're on, if you're with somebody every day and the CDC's changed, if you know that the people across from you have had their shots, then we can start to relax a little bit. So I'm comfortable. Long story short, I'm comfortable with this ordinance.
So for clarity, on the COVID leave, for those employees who have unused COVID leave, if they have a COVID-related reason to be off, then they can use that COVID leave balance of their COVID leave for whatever time they're off, right? Okay.
That's my understanding.
That was
Commissioner
mine.
Hale, is that your?
I just needed to say, to me, it hadn't been really said really directly and clearly. Yeah.
Section 3 of this addresses that. That we're not touching what was already passed by the
He alluded
past
to it.
administration.
But Josh alluded to the fact that at the federal level, it had sunsetted at the end of 2020.
Sunsetted on December 31st.
But not.
But the county never sunset it, no. This time.
I think it needs to stay in place right now, but I mean, if it starts getting widespread abuse, I think the commissioners need to know about it, and we probably ought to look at it again. But I'm comfortable leaving it in place right now.
First of all, I couldn't find my daggone mask. I fell into the not wearing it, and I'm not wearing it now. I've lost more of these daggone masks than I'd hate to think about. I've kept the mask makers in business. I had a call the other day from the governor as well as the Republican Party wondering what we were going to do. And I said, if I knew what we were going to do, I would be illegal because we can't meet until we discuss this thing on Monday. But I will tell you, I personally, my own thought, and I will share this with the group here and the audience, that I feel it's just a hair premier. I'm overly cautious. I mean, I've had my shots and everything. But I've also, my son reported where he works that nine of the employees out of 40 were sent home with COVID last week. I've also read that a place that I'd love to go but can't afford is St. Elmo's Steakhouse was closed because of lack of, too many people had it. We're not through the woods and on the other side of the sunny side of COVID yet. And your comment, Commissioner Collier, about coming back is, I think is the figures. I watch it daily. I see the numbers. I was glad to see that yesterday, that was the day before, which is always the news, is where it is, was no deaths in the state, which was kind of a first for me. But the cases are increasing gradually and have been doing that for about the last 10 days. Generally, the trend's up and slightly. And I don't want to get the confidence of the people that it's over. It isn't by any means. I think Mr. Leidy would probably agree. In fact, Steve, can I quote what you said about you think that we're months away from not being as busy?
Well, I keep trying to give matters my crystal ball, and I can't get them. Best of my recollection is, if you want my educated opinion,
That's what we want.
by the end of July, I got some counts, I'll share them.
Please. Mr. Leidy, for those who are not aware, is I guess you say, the lead dog in the track to
One of.
to help Morgan County get it vaccinated.
It's kind of hard to figure out when the end of this is going to come. The models are all over the place. I can just tell you what I think and what I see coming down the pike and where we're at right now. Currently, we've done about 8,500 vaccines through our clinic here in town. According to the Indiana Department of Health website, we've done, in our county, we've got 12,537 people fully vaccinated. We have 17,598 that has received their first dose of Moderna. And we have 1,234 people that have received a single dose of Johnson & Johnson. We have not received the Johnson & Johnson yet. We are trying to get that so we can immunize people who are homebound. We have done a lot of those Moderna, but it requires 2 trips, and it's getting a little hard to manage. We're also looking at doing a homeless clinic. If we get the Johnson & Johnson, those are undergoing discussions this week with Wellspring, try to figure that out. We also have coming up sometime in April. I haven't got everything solidified yet, so I'm not going to make too much of an announcement. But we're going to do a one-day vaccine clinic. We're going to do 1,200 vaccines in one day. And we'll have to do a follow-up with that 4 weeks later. So we're getting the vaccines out. I think we're probably roughly, Brian, you're the numbers guy, about 20% vaccinated in our county. You can almost guarantee about half of our population is not going to receive that, so we're probably looking at 35,000. So we're well on the way to get the vaccines out. When it's going to end as far as the vaccine clinic goes, I'm still banking the end of July. But I would like to hear it sooner. Some people are touting May. I would love that to be the case. I just don't see it happening. But I will tell you, you have a lot of very tired health department employees. So.
If I got on the portal today, how long would it take to schedule an appointment down here?
We're still scheduling out till May right now.
Okay.
Because we're still only getting roughly 1,000 vaccines a week. We're putting about 220 to 300 in arms, depending on whatever day it is. And we can't get any more of that at this time.
Any idea how many Krogers, how many the other pharmacies are picking up?
No, I don't. That's that single dose number, 1,234, I'm sure that's in there. That'd be your Walmart, your CVS, a lot of.
And you're getting that back from the state, right?
I'm sorry?
You get that back from the state. I had a friend that just went up through the IMS, the track, and got it Saturday.
Right.
But since they live in Morgan County, they'll kick you that number, right?
Yeah, this is our residents,
Okay.
because, the numbers are much higher than what we've actually administered, because we have people going to the IMS, but that is a Johnson & Johnson. So when those numbers get put in the computer, that will probably jump up. But we also have them going to Bloomington and Hendricks County and other places to get the vaccines. The hospitals seem to have a lot more available appointments because they're doing the Pfizer, and they've been pushing that out to their staff and their people. So the residents can go to the hospitals and get them. Unfortunately, in our county, our hospitals are not participating in any form of vaccines. So the only source we have to get vaccines out in our county is the health department and the local pharmacies.
Well, you've been doing a lot of work. It's been a long grind for you, and I appreciate that. What was the number again for county that our residents?
Our residents?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fully vaccinated,
Fully vaccinated.
12,537. First doses, 17,598. And for the single dose, 1,234. And what we've administered out of our clinic, it hasn't got Friday's numbers in, so we're probably roughly 8,500.
So we're over half have got at least one shot.
Yes.
In fact, I'm
Of that
not fast on,
3,500.
I'm not the math guy that, I see the man pushing a pencil down there, but what'd you come up with there, sir?
Well, I kind of agree with him. I figure, I talked to a lot of people that have been eligible to get the shot that are not going to get the shot regardless of when they opened it up. So I can't, I can't wait for them. But if you figure that our population is in the ballpark of 70,000, and so 35,000 are going to do it, then you can look at, basically a third's fully and half has gotten their first.
Well, it's so encouraging to see. I think the figures were somewhere like 4 million one day last week in this country. 4 million doses given on one day. That kind of number just astounds me, that we're fighting this war pretty good. And a year ago, we were pretty low on you think this thing didn't start, the vaccination didn't start until what?
We've come a long way in a short amount of time, but.
That's the important part, but we're not out of the woods. I think
No,
that's the
and the
other
cautionary
message.
tale I'm gonna put out here is there's always, from this day forth, gonna be COVID-19 out there.
Yeah.
In some form or the other, just like the swine flu, the flus. It's gonna be out there, but with the vaccine and what we know, we can combat it a lot more
Well-
effectively. Hospitalization and death counts are going down. I saw in the state of Indiana last week, we were in the single digits for a day, which was sad for those individuals, but when you look at some of the numbers we've been looking at, it was very encouraging.
Well, it feels like we're on the right track. It's just we've been through a lot and we're impatient a lot. And I think this ordinance addresses the immediacy of our people. But it's also, let's just hope that we don't have to keep we don't bring this back up and as we move down the pike, so.
No, it's in your guys' hands now. I'm gonna sit back down.
Thank you, Mr. Leidy, appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
So, did we get a motion on this ordinance? I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion on ordinance modifying the various restrictions related to the public health and mitigating the spread of the coronavirus disease.
Kyer seconds.
We have a motion and a second for the ordinance, the new ordinance that has been developed for consequence of the governor's action. Do we have any further comments? All in favor of the motion, then say aye.
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 And passes 3-0. I'm sorry? Oh, wait, should we waive the second reading on this?
Make a motion that we waive the second reading on this, ordinance.
Brian Collier seconds.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The second reading is bypassed. Thank you, Dan, for reminding me of that. Next item for discussion is, as I see, is the State Road 42. Oh, no, we've got, I'm sorry, I jumped down.
Got two more, you got back up two.
I've got to back up a couple. I don't know, well, the health department got me cooking there. We have, I'm sorry, yes. I'm sorry?
Yeah, we'll get that.
Yeah, that's where we're headed. In fact, I'll just put you next there,
You got substance abuse too.
Where did I miss that thing? I thought that was,
Dan was going to get it.
oh. Where is it? So we have a substance abuse grant? Okay. I'll bring that up next. I'll take that after this.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got two grants. Our agenda is kind of getting my fault. It's been
busy
kind of
day.
jumped around. Vicki Kivett, counsel and historian person.
Gentlemen, I stand before you this morning as a member of the Morgan County History Center and Museum. We are, a few years ago, some interested citizens of our community started the Morgan County History Partnership. And under that umbrella, the Morgan County History Center and Museum was formed. I stand before you today asking for your approval to add a line item to your budget and request an annual contribution to the History Center and Museum of $20,000. I ask for that at this time as we prepare for next year's Morgan County Bicentennial, as well as the city of Martinsville, which will be doing their own. I'm proud to say that we have a very dedicated and enthusiastic group of volunteers, and if there ever is to be a successful history museum in this county, the time is now. We've been blessed in being able to locate at the just across the street here at the Blackstone House, which has been the Disciple House owned by the Christian Church. We share that building with the Haven, which is a youth center for after school. And we don't, we pay rent, we don't own the building. Our organization is a 501c3 foundation. We do filter money through the community foundation from our donors. Since 2019, we have raised $26,898 in cash. We've acquired $10,101 in grants, and we've received approximately $4,300 in in-kind contributions and items, as well as hundreds of hours of dedication and work from our volunteers. In talking with the public, we find that the public is very enthusiastic about our adventure, and many comment that they're surprised that we've never had a museum in the past. And it's my understanding that a few years ago, the History Partnership tried to start a museum, and they were very unsuccessful, unfortunately. I want to compare this to our neighbors next door in Johnson County. Their county museum is a former 4-story Masonic temple, which is a couple doors, I want to say north of the Willard over there in the Artcraft, if you're familiar with that area. They co-own it with the Johnson County Historical Society. Their county pays full-time staffers and benefits, just like a county employee. They do fund all their utilities, maintenance, and they provide that employee benefits, as I mentioned. We do have center in our title, and we did that for a reason, because we want it to be a learning station where we have school groups, home schools, 4-H groups, Lions clubs, et cetera, in. We want to do approximately 4 times a year, have guest speakers in and talk about different forms of history throughout our county. If we should receive this funding, I want to assure you that we as an organization will continue with fundraising as well to our public and grants and all as well. Receiving this money would just give us some ease in our time commitments, that we can focus more on the exhibit portion and the educational portion of what we want to accomplish, rather than constantly having to worry about where our next month's rent is going to come from. In closing, I do want to thank you for your encouragement that I've received, and we ask you for this support so that we can help us all tell our history of Morgan County. Any questions? And it's my understanding, if you're in agreement with this, that Mr. Adams will appear before the May 5th County Council meeting and ask for this as an additional appropriation. Our urgency is so that we can better prepare ourselves for next year's bicentennial. Any questions?
Well, I can't help but make a short thank you that doesn't cover half of what has been accomplished. And also to Mr. French.
Mr. Darrell French.
Darrell French frankly, I'm just amazed at the support and the activity and the growth of something that was needed. And you've accomplished a great deal, and it's been so good for Morgan County, and especially timely. You know, when we celebrate 200 years of our county's history next year, that's going to be a centerpiece. So thank you so much, Vicki and Darrell.
We are gearing to open our doors mid-June. Behind those closed doors over there, there's a hub of people that go in every day and give it our all. And it will be something that this county's proud of.
I encourage anybody that has an interest to just stop in and see what's going on over there and participate, because they've got, it's not a small operation. Some of it, even Kenny has got some new stuff that we just, that thing in the last year is, I'm not sure when that started, when you first started getting that building, but what's been accomplished in this short time is amazing.
We got the building in October, and I thought, oh, we should open by January with COVID, you know, whatever it presents our way. It is a very time-consuming process, even from the time we get items in the door to the time that it can go out on display. It's got to go through all kinds of paperwork and computer programs and such as that. But we're going to be fine and dandy with your support.
Well, you're learning and providing a service that's going to be generational for the people in the county, and so appreciated.
I did leave you each one of our brochures to tell you about different ways and our goals and our mission statement and all that. But
I would just say that what I feel is, besides appreciation, is excitement, because I see something come together that's just it's beautiful to see. Thank you, and I look forward to. I guess what we should do here is we agree that we're going to put it on our request list, and then I will take it to the council on May the 5th at their meeting. Is that so? I will entertain entertain a motion to proceed, I guess would be the correct motion.
Go
with
ahead and
the
make a
request.
motion, that we go ahead and allow the line item to be placed in the Morgan County Commissioner's budget in the amount of $20,000, and also giving Mr. Adams permission to go to the county council tonight and asking for their support during budget time of this year.
I'll second that. I appreciate the.
Well, I thought about it, but then I was nervous on the part of you doing the presenting. I'm just making sure, Vicki, you were happy with Don doing that. So I'll go along with the vote, but I just,
Yeah, we have. Thank you, Brian. Well, the motion has been made, and any further discussion? Been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Thank you. Aye.
Just like to make one comment. Morgan County is one of the very few counties in the state. I know there's only a handful that don't have a history museum in their county, so kudos. I really want to thank Daryl and the board for doing this. Vicki, I appreciate it. And it is, like Don said, I was over there last week, and the work that's going on behind the scenes is fantastic. And I know you got some ladies and Daryl doing a lot of work over there, so appreciate it.
Thank you, Vicki, and thank you, Daryl, and appreciate where we're going. I'm jumping around on this agenda a lot more than I appreciate myself doing. One of the things that Dan has brought to me is the Substance Abuse Drug-Free Community Fund. That was actually number 3 on the item. On our agenda, and we need to address that. These are requests for a drug-free community fund for the period of April 1st to March the 31st, 2022. These are awaiting final approval from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute and will be taken to the county for approval during the April meetings. Total for this grant is $64,242.28. Eric, I didn't know who to call. Thank you. You want to address this request, please?
So part of the Substance Abuse Council is we're the local coordinating council for the county. Every county has one. The Indiana Criminal Justice Institute collects countermeasure fees from the state. In 2020, we gathered $51,686.48. The county also had a rollover amount of $12,555.80. So altogether for this year, we were able to distribute $64,242.28. We have a grant writing process that opens up in late December and goes through until early March usually. It's in 4 categories. There's administration, education, treatment, and criminal justice. Through those grants, the funds have to be evenly distributed among the 4 categories. So $16,000 of it was distributed to the Substance Abuse Council to cover admin, salary, supplies, things like that. $2,840 was given to the Haven Youth Center, $5,000 to Stability First, $5,000 to Baptist Tabernacle, $5,500 to Well Springs, $5,000 to Martinsville Youth Development Center, $16,000 to, it says the Task Force for PACE, but really it goes into a couple of different categories for the Sheriff's Department. One item is for overtime for the PACE program. Another piece is for a new canine unit, and another piece of it is actually for some videos that we're going to do in collaboration together. $4,500 was for the Boys and Girls Club, $3,000 was for Youth First, and $1,280.29 is for the Crossing, the alternative high school out in Mooresville. So altogether, again, it's $64,242.28. Every year, part of the Substance Abuse Council, we create a comprehensive community plan for the county that talks about all of the nonprofits and everything. It's submitted to ICJI. Makes no sense, but that is submitted April 1st, and these funds are actually supposed to be able to start being distributed April 1st. So we never get the approval to spend the funds until probably May or June, but in theory, the grant cycle starts April 1st, so the different organizations can actually start requesting for reimbursement for those.
Ms. Howe. I'm not quite clear on the procedure here. This fund has been, the money is there or not?
The money is there, and like other grants, it requires the commissioner's approval, and then this grant also requires the county council to appropriate the money. This is on the county council's agenda tonight.
For this evening,
it's on
yeah,
tonight?
that'll be for this evening as well.
Okay, okay. I got it clear now.
Yeah,
So the commissioner's responsibility right at this point is to decide to approve or disapprove which of these numbers in the request.
Kenny Howe makes the motion to approve the Morgan County Substance Abuse Council for the grant in the amount of $64,242.28.
Brian Collier seconds.
Have a motion to approve and a second. And all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any further discussion? Well, it's already passed. So this will go to the council this evening?
Right.
Who's taking it? You're taking it this evening? Okay. And you've got our blessing then. Thank you for the work you do.
All right, thank you.
And I need to kind of chat about it more because I'm not up to snuff enough about some of the things you're accomplishing. So we'll get together and
Yeah, just let me know.
I'll entertain myself.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, are we down to the State Road 42?
Yes.
Detouring? Okay. There is in your packet is the letter explaining the contact. Josh, you want to, or the event that I think has already occurred. Is that correct or not?
Yeah, that's right. This has already happened. There was an emergency closure of State Road 142. There were some roads, Hall School Road, McClure Road, and Kivett Road. They were an unofficial detour route, and essentially this is an agreement NDOT sent to us saying if there's damage to those roads because of the unexpected traffic, please coordinate with us and we can help get it resolved. We would have to do the work and then it would be a reimbursement style. So we just need to approve this so we have, if we find issues, we can go back to NDOT and ask them to help us resolve them.
Any questions from our board here? I'll entertain a motion. Been made and seconded that we approve this agreement. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed 3-0. We have a Sadler Room waiver that I think Jim has put together for us.
That's correct. Just, I think, formalizing a little procedure with regard to rules and liability for employees' use of the room in accordance, I think, with what has always been the practice anyway.
Clarifies it and gets it in writing.
That's my understanding.
What I understood. Any questions on this motion or this act? Intended motion?
Brian Collier makes the motion that we approve the acknowledgement of rules and waiver and release of liability.
Have a second? Second. Made and seconded. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. We are now, we have several job descriptions updated. We have, they're in your packet. Do you want to go through each, or do you want to take them all as they're presented? That would be your call.
I have a question about this new process. So like if there's something in the update that I don't understand, who do I go back? Do I go back to the board? Do I go to Josh? Do I go to Doree? Who do I go to say I agree or disagree, or I don't understand the verbiage?
So the job descriptions are before you all today. They are before you because they're your employees. They're within your departments and your purview. If it were something outside of a commissioner department, it would just go directly from that department head to the council. But because these all land with you first, these are before you. If you all approve them or approve them with changes, then from there, we will take them to the council for final approval.
So these will be approved by us to go back to the council, correct?
That's correct.
Do you,
Well, if we want to tweak them before we send them back, do we tweak them, then we vote on our change and then send it back to the council, or does it go back to the board who looks at our changes to take it? What is the proper steps?
If you guys want to change them, we'll tweak them. We'll send them back to WIS to get them re-updated. It does not need to go back through the subcommittee unless it's a wholesale change, in which case then it'll go to the council with your changes.
And then after we accept them, it goes to the council for the final approval.
Yep.
yes.
Well, I have reviewed these and I have tabled these numerous times, and I reviewed them again, and I apologize for that. The first 90 days of my commissioner stint has gone very quickly, and I have learned a lot. And with that said, there's just a couple things that I would like to review and then give back to the commissioners, and I'm gonna need 2 more weeks to do that. I've got them, but they're not on my handout here, they're at the office. Just things that I questioned or I thought needed to be discussed by the 3 of us. I just didn't know what the proper, I didn't know if I had to throw it back to the subcommittee so now I know. So I will be better prepared. Even though April 15th's coming up and you have until May 17th, but I still know the next 2 weeks will be crazy. Get those taxes done. Shameless plug.
And to add clarity, Commissioner Collier, the EMS ones you guys have had before, there are 3 other ones that we have for you all as well that are just changes to reflect how the office is different than when the job description was created. That one's for HR. That one is also for your executive assistant. And then you have a third one for IT, which is for a different position that we are going to approach the council on. So those ones are separate and distinct from your EMS.
echo what Brian said. I am not quite 100% comfortable, and I've looked at these over, and then the new ones that we just got this last week, I still got just a few little things that I want to talk to you and Bree about before I'm comfortable with doing it. I'd go ahead and make a motion, we table these to our next meeting. I know we've already tabled some of them for the EMS already, but I would still go ahead and make a motion and we table all these till the next meeting. Try to get that done then.
A motion made to table until the next meeting to clarify a couple points on it. I'll second the motion. As I know
And
you
then I
have
just a
some-
point of, like the Job Maintenance Committee, their recommendations in,
These have all been approved by the Job Maintenance Committee. They went through that process. We sent them to WIS.
their final recommendations that sit before us.
Yes, that's
Right.
right.
I don't think so. Are they? This committee.
With the exception of the hours, that they made that recommendation for EMS. That's what's been tabled. The other 3 are all approved as is.
You didn't answer that correctly.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I think, just because I'm a member on the Job Maintenance Committee, I think when these are presented, there should be a report also presented that's the report of the Job Maintenance Review.
That's a good idea.
I think the HR director ought to do that, to present that report, so that you've got all the information.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, and that's part of why I'm questioning.
Part of the process.
Yeah.
I mean,
In fact, questions on it.
New, So it's, nobody's gonna be perfect coming out of the gates, but it just felt like I was,
I'm sitting here very frustrated by being on the Job Maintenance Committee, and I would think part of the process should be not to the commissioners, and then if, since these are commissioners' positions, it should be a report of the Job Maintenance Committee to the commissioners on, okay, we approved these in their entirety, how they were presented. We approved the WIS's recommendations, or if we didn't approve those in their entirety, we approved them except for whatever.
Yeah, that's a
And
great idea.
also, I think that that should be part of the process when it goes to the county council. As a member of the Job Maintenance Committee, I'm just really frustrated how this is working here today.
Yeah,
I
makes
would have
sense.
expected there be a report.
And I would like to hear a little bit more about it, because the jobs categories and the status and the FLSA status, I mean, that's, it just seems like we're starting to turn a lot the other way, and I've got some questions about it and concerns.
Those are all consistent with what we have now. I mean,
All of them?
Oh, yeah.
All of them.
Every position has a Fair Labor Standards classification, and then they also have the rating, which is either a professional or executive or all of that, which that probably ought to be part of the report, like each of those items that the Job Maintenance Committee approved it for, the WIS's recommendations on these, and this, the job classification, the Fair Labor Standards, SAC status, and.
Yeah, all the memos for those are included, but I agree
Yeah.
with Dan. A report to summarize all that would be helpful.
Yeah, but yeah, there's WIS's memo, which WIS's memo is good. But in addition to that, you should know whether or not the Job Maintenance Committee approved what WIS has recommended.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Yes, who is on the Job Maintenance Committee?
Well, myself, there's two council members, or no, three council members, and then Doree is our administrative, and then Josh is on there.
And who?
Josh and myself and three council members.
Who's the director? I guess you'd say who's the chairman of that committee?
Don't know that we appointed.
We haven't really appointed one.
I mean, who's in charge of calling the meetings?
The agenda and conducting the meeting, HR director, Doree, helps us with that. And she pulls together the job descriptions, and she takes care of the receiving the job descriptions, changes. And then she forwards that on to WIS, our human resources consultant. And then WIS then submits a memo back of their evaluation of the job description, their evaluation of where that job fits in for classification as far as the jobs, the wages and salary classifications. And then they also give us their opinion on whether or not that position is exempt from overtime, or if it's not exempt from overtime. And I'm sure I'm missing something. But that's, then WIS gives us all of that. Then we meet and we review, then we're given the materials, and then we schedule a meeting and we meet, review, and discuss. And
But we haven't seen your.
And all but one position, we have gone along with WIS's recommendations or the job description as it is, and we voted to not accept the one position. But, well, except we made exceptions to or qualified our approval. And that's.
So we need that report. Would that
Seems
where we
reasonable.
would go next between the now and the tape? I just want to know how we move, how we proceed.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it.
Okay. All right.
And then you
So-
need, you get that and you're.
Get that, then then we can go proceed from there. Is that correct? Okay.
I'd like to see that, and I'd also even like, I know I've already seen the ranges, midpoint and base and all this already once, but if I could get that included in that report, that would be very helpful as well. I know I could go back in an email and pull all that up, but it's,
Yeah, okay. So you would like to see the
Mid-range.
wage and salary range for that job classification?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Out of curiosity also in this process, because when the council took this under, we knew that there would be changes. We knew that some people are more articulate and able to pin their job description better than others. What is the checks and balances? Because if I were to sit and give you a job description of commissioner now versus what I would have when I was running for this position, it would be, you would think it was two totally different jobs, and I'm well aware that now that I'm here, it is. So my point is, who's doing the checks and balances? Because I could see this, the scale tipping the other way, where you would think that
Third question, don't have a real, like a yes or no answer to, but my feeling is that, like, I'm not sure what interaction Doree has with the office and department with the job description and what's being put on there, so I'm not about to speak for her. But then our human resources consultant has many county clients, and many counties have all.
But is the
similar-
department, if I was working under you and I told you that I was doing payroll, and everyone knows Kathy's doing payroll, so, but I put in my job description and I give it to the committee, you're not on that committee. It goes through the department head before it goes to the committee, and it goes to HR, right?
That would be for Doree.
I mean, I would hope that our department heads are checking off on all this so that when it gets to the next level, if they want it changed or updated, there's been some form of check and balance that that department head who's running that department or that elected official over that department sits there and says, Brian's not doing, he's not doing payroll in here. Really?
That's a
That is
question. I
part
don't
of it.
know. My presumption is that the receiving of the job descriptions for new positions and for updates are or the submitting of those are being submitted by either the elected official or the department head. That's a question for Doree.
There's a place in the paperwork for the department head to sign off.
I would
Before.
presume that's correct. But so that's the first point, and point of checks and balances, and then WISRI, they weigh things too. And,
Yeah, but they're not gonna know that if I'm in the auditors, that I'm not doing payroll, and if you don't check off and you just sign it, I'm doing payroll now, so I get a pay raise, and I don't even know what FICA is.
I mean, you would.
By the way,
That
I
would,
wanna clear that. I do know what FICA is.
that would require reviewing all the job descriptions, see how many people are doing payroll, But, you would want at least 2 people knowing how to do that, but if you got all 9 people doing it, you'd not start.
Right, and I'm just making sure that under this new process that we're putting in, and we promised the employees that this would evolve, and this would change, and this was gonna be dynamic.
Right, and this is the process, and we're very, 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 new into this process, and I just wanted to, sitting here as a member of the committee, and that's something I should have thought of earlier, but sitting here realizing that you're getting this, and you're not getting any form of communication as to what the committee did, and I think that's a missing piece.
You guys get copies of the reports of performance that the department heads are doing with the employees?
Say that again?
There is no mandatory performance reviews.
There's no, really?
How are you
Not
gonna,
on a
how are you
yearly
gonna
basis.
mandate elected official to do performance reviews?
I'm talking about the ones that we have control that we can do.
Well, then you decide that.
To me, I think them ought to be.
You 3 gentlemen decide that. If you want your departments doing performance reviews, no one's telling you you can't do that. I mean, that's a decision you've got to make, but,
I would think they need to be, and I think the committee ought to be getting them before they even start making recommendations.
We're not looking at.
Yeah, that
performance.
would
not
go
looking at
directly
them at
to the
all.
commissioners.
We're
That
not-
wouldn't
yeah,
go.
We're
You're
not
on-
looking
you're
at
only
performance
looking at
review.
what
We're
was-
looking at updates to job descriptions.
Descriptions only.
Or we're looking at job descriptions for newly created positions. That's what we're looking at. And we're looking, in the, like Brian alluded to, that maybe initially when the job descriptions were put together, some individuals may not been all-inclusive of what they actually do. And this is their opportunity to correct those omissions and put that back through the review process and for it to be reevaluated. That's part of the process.
Trying to update somebody's job description, though, I mean, by not knowing exactly having that performance review and seeing what
That's two
all
different
that's,
things.
that's being done.
That's two different things.
Okay.
You can have a job descriptions that say you do X, Y, and Z. That's a
Yes.
job description.
Correct.
Performance review is how well do you do X, Y, and Z?
But you're also gonna be picking up any new things that they're actually doing that's
That's the
asking
job
for that
description.
job description,
That's
yes.
the job description. That's not performance review.
But it should be included in that performance review that they are doing it
That's
to
separate.
fight for that, again, job description change.
You're mixing apples and oranges.
Okay. I just, understand.
Statutorily, the council has control of the job descriptions. You all went through that process. I think it was a great thing. This is part of getting those job descriptions to the council. Anything on a performance level will be with the elected officials, in your guys' case, the commissioners. And if Dan did that, it would be to him, but
If
the
I
rest of the
wanted-
council
if I
would never
wanted
be
to
privy.
put in place evaluations at my office, I have all
Your
the.
call.
That's my call.
Yep, absolutely. You're
If you
elected.
want to do that for all the departments that are your charge, that's your call. But we're talking about describing what their duties are.
Correct.
And,
What their
Can I ask
position
a
is,
legal
full-time or
question?
exempt, not exempt.
Along these lines, if Dan, as an elected official, wants to remove one of the people in his office, not the position, but the person, he has complete
Oh, absolutely.
power to do that.
Yep.
What's the employee's recourse? Because it's not so much a performance issue, it's a personality issue. Do they come back to the commissioners, or is it a moot point because he's over that office? How's that work? Let's say, for instance, I was actually working in there, I wouldn't last more than a week before Dan would be getting rid of me.
It's for cause, and that's one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I think that as a pragmatic thing, commissioners and that office would be included as named defendants, probably regardless of where actual liability fell. From there, that Indiana's an at-will employment state, I think it's a fact-sensitive situation on why they parted ways with that employee.
So an elected official over the department has the leeway to remove any person within there? Because I know that I had to take a class when I got elected on, I really can't do that, especially if it gets construed as a political removal. They warned us all, big, long class on that. So
The answer, yes, I'd agree with that, notwithstanding that they'd be subject to the same sort of employment litigation that any other employer would be.
Well, I'll tell all his positions to be nice to him, because I always thought I could save their jobs, and I've been telling everyone in the auditor's office to give Dan a hard time. Now I feel bad if he can fire him and I can't even help him.
But anyway, that's.
All right, so I assume then, if I'm following the correction, the discussion here, that we'll get a report on the job descriptions from the maintenance committee. And that will either come before the next meeting, or whenever it comes, we'll act upon it at the meeting appropriate following that, correct? That's what takes to get it off the table.
How I think we proceed from here.
Okay. So we know why we're going to table, and we know what to expect before we take it off the table. Is that correct?
Correct. I feel, thank you, and thank you for your patience. I feel a lot better about the process that we're
Yes, I do
working with.
too. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate your question. Have we voted on the motion to table? Or,
No, we just seconded
okay,
it.
let's go ahead and take that. We have a motion to table, and I believe it's been seconded.
Yes.
Are we ready to vote? All right, all in favor of the motion to table?
Aye.
Aye. So we'll table with the, it passes, and then we'll take it off the table when we get the reports that we are looking for. Correct? Thank you. And thank you, Josh. Okay. Paid time off policy modification.
You have a new ordinance in your packet. If you all choose to move down this path, I would recommend that we waive the second reading. But this is specifically, when someone parts ways with the county, they get paid out for their time. And we want to limit that, and we did when we did our new handbook, to 30 days. But the point is, we want to limit it to 30 normal working business days. So that would be 240 hours, not more than that if you were working a shift that has more hours in a day. And so that would be the recommendation, is that we would pay somebody out for the time out that they receive, that they have remaining, up to 240 hours.
Okay. Questions on that modification? You understand what's cooking? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. What do we need for a motion? Do you guys want to change the modification? Or do you want to review it or table it?
I don't know what you think, Kenny.
I'm sorry?
I asked Kenny what he was thinking. Because he's grinning underneath that mask, and I'm trying to figure out why he's grinning.
I've got to put mine on.
Let me explain the one thing about the time, or the hours paid at termination or leaving employment. Currently, we have only one department that has individuals working greater than 8-hour shifts, and they work 24-hour shifts. The literal reading of the personnel policy would have us, when they leave employment, that we would pay them 30 days times 24 hours. That's the literal reading of that.
How many days?
30 days times 24 hours each. We've already done that in one instance because we couldn't get an amendment done to you before that. We had another individual that didn't have quite 30 days, but had several days at times 24, and we have one in the works right at the moment that has, I think, 30 days at 12 hours, 30 days times 24. I don't know, what did I say earlier, 12? I meant 24. So 30 days times 24 hours times whatever their rate of pay is, their payout. That's quite a bit of money.
That's a budget buster.
And so that, we all had sticker shock and thought, oh my goodness, this is not really what we intended to do, I don't believe. And so it's being put to you to decide the intent, and we think the intent was, or the thought process was the 30 days would be at the most 8 hours per day, so 240 hours. And we thought of different ways of stating that for the shifts that are greater than 8, and it finally boiled down to, well, heck, the simplest way to say it is that you get your accumulated PTO, that either what the lesser of the 240 hours or what your accumulated PTO hours are. And that's what's before you here, one part of this amendment. The second part of this amendment is the dealing with holiday pay.
Dan, we pulled the second part.
Oh, we pulled the
Yeah,
second part?
Brian wanted to talk more about that, so.
Oh, okay, so we have another amendment, another version of this.
Yes, I reprinted it and just struck the second part.
Oh, okay. So we're only talking about the 240 hours.
I'd go ahead and make a motion for the PTO policy modification, limit them to 240 hours or whatever they've accumulated up to that.
Or seconds.
Any discussion further? Thank you, Dane. All right, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
It passes. Now, we have another part.
Wait,
For another day. Yeah, for another day.
Wait for another day.
you gonna waive second reading?
All in favor of, sorry, we have a motion to waive second reading.
So moved.
Second, it's vote, motion to waive the second reading, say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes 3-0. Are we clear on the PT paid time off policy modification thus far? Okay,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Okay, is there any other items in the new business that I have skipped over or you can see? I didn't take a check mark down through there. Good, okay. Old business that we've tabled, we have two appointments in front of you. One is for Central Indiana Regional Transit Authority, and it is my failing, I thought we'd made that appointment. That's Central Indiana Regional Transit Authority has been budgeted in our commissioner's budget for, back when I was first commissioner. And they make the appointment to the board. I've been serving on that even when I wasn't commissioner. I just to inform you folks and the county, CERTA is primarily focused on regional transportation. They oversee a lot of work that goes on. Not much of it comes through the county yet. We have the, that is not my intent. I think we can increase some of our public transportation through the county since we have it already occurring in an unofficial form. But they meet monthly and discuss issues in the donut counties. And we've got they're quite active with Indigo and some of the issues that concern us, especially what they call the connectors, to provide transportation to and arrange transportation or get cooperation with the entities, for example, in the Plainfield and the Whitestown connectors where there's lots of people that don't live in the communities and need transportation to them. So I'll try to give you a better reporting of what we are accomplishing and maybe even a suggestion and say what can we do for you. But I do attend those meetings and we are at the table, and I think we need to be, although we're not as big as some of the other, nor is the funding very large that we get from places like Hendricks County, Johnson County, and Hamilton County, but we're there. So I would appreciate being reappointed to that board, and with the caveat that I'll give you a rather brief update, but see what you can see what's going on in public transportation, and also solicit your concerns of what we could do to improve public transportation for the folks. So, don't know where we lost one.
You upset him.
I think what?
I think you upset him.
Must have, I don't.
He's tired. This meeting's gone too long.
It is moving right along, huh? Well, we can still cooperate with a motion in a second.
Yes. Oh, wait.
All right. You move.
I'm making a motion that you continue.
And thank you, and I'll keep you up to snuff. One of the other all in favor of the motion, say aye. We made a motion to appoint me back to the CERTA committee. And it's been made and seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We have one other appointment that we have finally getting around to. It was on the Community Corrections, Morgan County Community Corrections Board. We lost a lady that was Sarah Malone, not lost her. She was no longer employed as required by the school corporation. So Mr. Taylor, Superintendent Taylor, has contacted her replacement, Emily Lepore, and she has consented to go ahead and be an appointment on the Community Corrections Board, which I think is going to meet in April, I believe. So that's our, I think, final appointment, I hope, for 2021. I would entertain that we appoint Emily Lepore as our representative on the Community Corrections Board.
Second.
And seconded for Emily to be appointed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes 3-0. I have a community corrections contract. Is that, I wrote CC contract. Oh, it wasn't community corrections. I just wrote the wrong name down. This is the EB.
Community crossings, EB
It's
paving.
Community correction,
Yep.
crossing grant. That's why I got the CC. Community correction, community crossing. Yeah, you got it. Okay.
This contract is part of the bid packet for community crossings. I verified the amount. Tony went through and verified all the bids. EMB was the lowest responsive bidder for the project. In the past, we've awarded these road segments individually. Through guidance from NDOT, they said that's not the way it's meant to be done, and it needs to be awarded as one project if it's one application. And so 2 of the road segments had initially been laid out for, I think Milestone was the low bidder, but they were notified and they were aware. They've worked in other communities. So all of it would be awarded to EMB Paving for $1,673,462.90.
So we have the application, or was in the bid in the last time?
Yes, this was the bids were opened at your last meeting.
In the last meeting.
They've been
and we
reviewed since
just-
then, and this is
okay.
for your final adoption.
So accept the contract.
Go ahead and make a motion that we approve the contract between Morgan County and ENB Paving in the amount of $1,673,462.90.
Motion made and we have a second?
Brian Kyer seconds.
Been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Josh, I got one question for you. What's the difference, dollar amount on them 2 other roads that EB picked up?
I'll have to get that to you. I have it, but I don't have it off the top of my
I
head.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And I will ask that if any of you have to slip out early, you sign this because we're under a time restriction to get it back to NDOT.
Okay.
For future reference also, when we open up bids like we do, and Mr. Battiston read off so many numbers that even I couldn't keep up with him, like within a short period of time, get like a breakdown of what those numbers are, and like what I wrote down, I might have been off a digit
Yeah.
or heard something on this end.
We can email.
Because
you those.
I've been asked what the other contractors bid, and I don't have an answer.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I didn't I started trying to write them down. I can't keep up with it. But it was interesting to see. I would be interested in that number 2. Thank you.
You can always ask me to repeat them.
Always fine.
And I did. Yep.
Well, yeah, I knew I'd see the figures.
On my spreadsheet that I was doing by hand, I think I got off by a road because then they started, one was doing it for 31,000, the next one was doing it for 300. I'm going, I've got to be a road off.
There was a
There was
contractor
a
who busted a number.
major error in one of the bids.
Yeah, the first one. Yep.
That decimal point, it makes such a.
Wasn't as far off as I thought.
Is that all? How much was that Bray Road?
Bray Road, E&B was, 101, 171,
$5,000 difference. Pretty close.
Thank you, Sport.
Thanks, Board. Any other questions about the, have we got that contract all squared away and approved?
Yep.
Okay. What's up?
Next thing, DNR park rental.
DNR winner, the DNR request?
Yep.
Okay.
Bev Stout with DNR called and asked to use Burkhart Creek. I believe she does this somewhat regularly. She said Kenny would be very familiar with what they wanted to do.
Yep.
So there's no documentation, just a phone call from DNR. But that's what that request is on April 22nd for you guys.
Questions on that request? Kenny?
No questions on it. The only thing that I would recommend, we do the same thing that we're doing with the weed wrangle. Go ahead and provide them a porta pot down there, because right now, we don't have permanent porta pots down there, and I'd recommend doing that as well.
We don't have any porta pots down at Burkhart?
No.
What's our plan on that?
Hopefully, we're gonna be getting a composting unit down there pretty soon. I've been working with Bobby upstairs and Dave at state level, and hopefully, we're gonna get that pulled off.
Good, good. So you're going to have one down there on the 17th?
On the 22nd.
At Burkhart Creek? I've got a date of the 17th on that.
Oh, you mean for the weed wrangle?
Right,
Yeah, we're gonna have one there too.
okay.
But I think we ought to do the same thing with DNR, because they're kind of used to doing that.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good group of people out there that do.
Yeah, well, we need it. Okay.
Go ahead and make a motion, we approve the Burkhart Creek for April 22nd with the inclusion of a porta pot for DNR, Bev Stout in the group.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to provide the DNR request and also provide a porta potty for them on that day, April 22nd. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
One other one, Don.
Got it. Go for it.
This one here is for a graduation open house up at Waverly Park at the Town Square gazebo up by Town Square. Basically, from 11 to 3, we've already checked, and that's an open date and good. So I would go ahead and make a motion that we approve that rental for the gazebo in Old Town Waverly Park for May 29th, 2021.
Second.
Second.
Yes, sir. Second.
Motion made and seconded for the approval for the grant for the, or not a grant, for the use of the Waverly Park gazebo for a graduation party for a young man. It's a good place for those things. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. I see nothing left on our agenda unless I missed it.
Additional appropriation letter?
Yeah, additional appropriations. I'm just skipping stuff all over this today.
We're gonna call you Skippy.
Yes. Well, I'm glad I've got help to keep me in line. All right, Josh, additional appropriations.
Yeah, this is in the amount of $20,160. EMA through Mark and Dave Rogers and IT applied for some grants in the past. They were awarded $100,375 already. The initial quotes had come in a few $1,000s more, could have been covered, but since receipt of the grant, the Historical Society, as part of FEMA, have came back and put additional stipulations on the work, which have driven the cost up higher. And so now we're in a position where we either will have to ask for this $20,160 or give the money back and not complete the projects. And so that's what this additional is for today. And this is for getting new cameras in various locations and getting them all on our network.
Any questions about the request?
go ahead and make a motion that we approve the additional appropriation in the amount of $20,160 to go along with the EMA grant application that we approved earlier on the cameras and everything.
And is there, do we
Just
have
to
a
be clear,
second?
this
Oh,
one is
sorry.
separate from the grant that Mark came for earlier today. This is a grant that was already been awarded.
Oh, this is another grant?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought this was on that same grant for the cameras and everything. Forgive me.
Are we clear on?
Yep.
Okey-doke. Do we have a second? Motion's been made and second for the additional appropriation grant outlined by Josh for the through EMA, correct? All right. Now, am I through skipping?
What?
Go for it.
Did we vote on that?
Oh, no, we didn't. Keep me
And
lined
then
up.
I have another question before you go to your
Okay.
final point.
All in favor of the additional appropriation grant for EMA? The figure was
$160.
$20,160. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-0. Okay, thank you.
Along with the park, we were asked about the Relay for Life. Do we have to address that?
Oh, I think we should, yes.
Moving the date for the Relay for Life.
Yeah, they're actually moving it up to the first week of October, if I remember right.
I think they were trying to avoid,
The Fall Foliage Festival.
And I'd make a motion blessing the Relay for Life for moving it up a week ahead of time.
I'll second.
that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we've taken care of the folks on the Relay for Life. Thank you. Got a question from Dan.
On the historicals, the History Center.
Yes, sir.
20,000. Where do you want that additional money appropriated? What funds?
Budget. Auditor's budget.
Do that. I get enough heck over my budget the way it is.
I think that's a good question, and I do not know the answer. There's a couple of places that I think you could look at it. Go ahead.
I would look at Riverboat Fund, one of them myself, because that's a replenishing, even though it's declining, it's still a replenishing fund, so.
Yeah, that's where I would probably go with it, but do we have to signal?
What were
Do
you
we have to
thinking?
tell them where it's going to?
Have an idea, Dan, since it's
I mean,
going to be perpetual?
it's going to be perpetual. I mean, you can budget it. Yeah, Riverboat's fine. I mean, or you could general fund commissioner's budget, or do you want to give like a variety of budget or funds and let the council decide? Or?
Yeah, I think that would be my preference.
Do a variety, and let the council decide based upon your spreadsheets.
Right. That'd be where I'd go with it.
Well, I do the normal Riverboat general fund, maybe economic development fund.
Because I was kind of thinking
Or the
Economic Development
even-
Fund was what was in the back of my head.
Tourism, I don't know if that's, budget's already run out, but to me,
That
that's,
goes to the Tourism Bureau.
does it all go there?
Yes.
It's all eat up?
All the money goes there.
Yes.
Okay.
But we do apply for grants and stuff for like
Right,
parks and
I'm-
festivals and everything.
We're going to be doing one of those for the bicentennial, so, okay.
Okay,
Are you-
I just wanted some
Yep.
guidance.
Are we clear?
Yes.
Everybody good shape on the agenda, except for the last item of the good of the county?
I think it's time for the good of the county.
All right, well, I have one item, it's already been brought up, is the Burkhart Creek is going to be, well, we've got two. Old Town Waverly Park coming up this next Saturday. Is Dave here? Val from upstairs. We're going to have a weed wrangle. I was in it last year. It's kind of fun. You learn what you oughtn't to have growing in your park, and you can find also what's edible that kind of good to find. So there's going to be a weed wrangle for invasives this coming Saturday, 9 to noon. So you might pass that along. Keith, I'm sure you're going to be aware of it. And then Burkhart Creek will be the following, before our next, no, it'll be April the 17th. So that's coming up the following Saturday before our next meeting. And Jimmy Nash Park won't be until May, but that's coming up. So we'd wrangle kid-friendly ones and at the parks with
We will be also, we'll have the blacksmith shop open for the satellite group starting at 9 a.m. Saturday morning, hammering up there, and anybody that wants to come and see what we're doing up there, wanting to make anything, we do open the forge up to the public for open forge time. We have demonstrators, we even have a pitch-in lunch at noontime. We will be getting rid of the adults about 1:30, bringing the 4-H group in, and this will be our first one of the year for the 4-H group, because we only got to do it 3 times with them last year. So we'll be doing that as well as a river cleanup. Holly and Valita's gonna be up there, and there'll be a river cleanup that's taking place as well, starting at 9:30 or 10, I believe. So be quite a bit going on at Old Town Waverly Park this weekend.
And it looks like the rain is 20% chance, and I hope it's just as pretty as today. We've had some really great spring growing weather, and it's good to see dust in the fields once in a while. Any other good of the county from the county out there? Anybody have anything to pitch in? I guess Billy's back in the saddle on the school bus, right? Returned. Okay. Well, thank you all for your patience and keep wearing those masks. I've got mine to get handy and I have my shots. And let's beat this stuff. Thank you very much for your attendance. Gentlemen, we've got things to sign, I think. How much?
Motion to adjourn.
Move is made to second to adjourn, and all in favor say aye. 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 Have a great day.